Welcome back to another episode at the Evolving the Single Parent Nation podcast. Today, I am so excited for our guest and to introduce you to someone who is my dear friend. His name is Yahiya Shalgheen. He's a highly skilled, rapid transformational therapist, a hypnotherapist with 4 years of experience helping individuals break through mental barriers, reprogram their subconscious mind, and unlock their fullest potential. With a deep passion for personal transformation, Yahiya combines the power of hypnosis, neuroscience, and cognitive therapy to guide his clients towards lasting change. Beyond his expertise, as I mentioned, Yahiya is a very close friend of mine, someone who I dearly admire for his wisdom, his kindness, and unwavering commitment to empowering others. His ability to create a safe and transformative space for healing is truly remarkable. So, if you're ready to rewire your story and step into your highest self, Yahiya is the guide you've been waiting for. Yahiya, welcome to the Evolving Single Parent Nation podcast. How are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am blessed and unstoppable.
I love that.
Great. So I wanted to bring you on to the show, not just because you are my friend, but you were raised by single parents and you are a hypnotherapist. But before we dive into hypnotherapy, I just wanted to ask you what it was like growing up with a single parent. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was not easy. My mom came from a very traditional background. So when she left and she went on her own and had me live with her, she didn't really have all the skills to go out and get a good job. So she had to go and hustle. She had to work in just regular low pay jobs. So I really lived with her through her struggles, financial struggles, emotional struggles. It was difficult, but it was definitely, now looking back at it, it's taught me so much skills that I have in my life. I always say I have a cousin who grew up in a family that seemed to be perfect on the outside, and his parents are still together today, actually. And I always thought, why is my family not like that? Like, why is my family not a functional family? And now looking back, I realize what I'm doing with my life today, the skills, the audacity to go out and do the things that I want, that I have in my life today, comes from that. It's having to come out of that, where I feel like my cousin struggles so much more with that, with expressing himself and going for what he wants.
Yeah, so there goes that myth that children from single parents they don't grow up right, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me ask you about your work now, right? So your work is all about the subconscious mind. Let me back up. So when I heard hypnotherapy, my thought of hypnotherapy was more like an out of body experience. Like, can you explain exactly what hypnotherapy is?
Yeah. So most people, when they hear of hypnotherapy, they think that somebody's going to put them asleep and is going to take control of their mind. And we're going to be able to erase some of the things that happened to you in the past. When hypnotherapy really is just a relaxed state of being, it's a place between the alpha and the theta state of mind, which we go naturally into every single day. And it's just a state of mind where you're open to suggestions, where your conscious mind that's always fighting new ideas and new ways of being is not so much involved, and it's just sitting in the background. And your subconscious mind, which is the most powerful part of you, is involved. So we use sustained focus and powerful, exciting imagery to help people move forward in their lives with hypnotherapy. So if you're scared of hypnotherapy, don't be. Go and try hypnotherapy. It's just like meditation.
And I've tried it before and it was amazing. It was amazing. And I've actually referred people to him and even a year or two after they're texting him how amazing, the transformation is and still is.
Mm.
So your work is all about the subconscious mind. For a single parent who feels stuck, like they're in survival mode, right? what's the biggest misconception they have about their ability to change their life?
So being a single parent is extremely stressful. I mean, I can barely take care of myself very well. I don't know how other people can take care of children on their own. So it's a very stressful job. And it seems like change is impossible when you're dealing with all these things coming at you and all of these moving parts. Um, but we just have to change the way that we look at change itself. Change is happening constantly and automatically, always. I mean, you don't have the same body that you had 7 years ago. It's a whole different body. Everything within you is changing. So when we don't change our beliefs and the way that we perceive life, what happens is that change is happening to look almost exactly the same. So your circumstances, the way that you feel, all of that seems like it's not changing, but it is changing to almost exactly the same thing. So the way that we need to look at this is not to look at change as this monumentous or monumental big change, but to look at it as small changes. All you have to learn really is how to cue the change and not to actually perform the change yourself. Change is happening. You just have to know how to cue it properly.
Amazing. That's amazing. So you've helped people, right, to break through lifelong patterns through hypnotherapy. What's the most powerful transformation you've actually ever witnessed?
Hmm. Um, One of the most powerful transformations I've witnessed, I had a 24-year-old guy who came to me. He had been on depression medication for 10 years. He's gone to every psychotherapist, every therapist out there. His mom sent him. He didn't really believe that he could change. And during our first session, a lot of trauma from his childhood when it comes to, not feeling good enough and all of that came up. And he left that session, everything was fine. 8 days later, I get a call from his mom that he's been crying for the last 8 days. And I knew that was a good sign because depression, a lot of the times, is suppression. And when somebody starts to express their emotions that way, you know that something is changing. And then later on, about 3 months later, his mom calls me. She tells me he's had the most powerful transformation. He's had an aggressive recovery to where he's off his medications. He was no longer depressed. He had been fixing his relationships, and he's finally allowing himself to be who he is. So that's an experience that really opened up my heart. Every time I feel like my faith is waning or um, I'm having some kind of issues, I think of that moment and brings me back.
Amazing. And so I know the two people I sent to you.
Yeah.
Um, the lady, she started smiling after her hypnotherapy. And then the other person, he was like, man, I feel so much lighter. And that person was like borderline suicidal. And he's like, so much better, so much, when I talk to him, so much more energy, right?
Yeah.
So it does work. So
It,
for
it, if it's so hypnotherapy does work, and also for people that don't have access to hypnotherapy, really what we're doing is we're um, the help is really seeing somebody beyond their patterns. A lot of the times when clients come, they think that they are broken, and you just have to kind of make the distinctions that they're not broken. It's just broken patterns, and they could be changed. Where if you're looking at yourself as this broken personality that could never be changed, that's what keeps people stuck. So I just wanted to add that in there.
right, the belief system, so true. So for many single parents, right, they operate in a constant state of stress and guilt, right? I can personally speak on that. How does that affect their subconscious mind, and how can hypnotherapy help them shift from survival mode to thriving?
Stress is natural when you're dealing with all the things that you're dealing with, and having to take care of another being that is completely dependent on you is not an easy thing. It's very difficult. The thing about stress is that it goes into your subconscious mind and affects your body. So stress is natural when you're dealing with what you're dealing with having children, people depending on you. It's very natural to be stressed. And guilt also can be natural because really what you truly want is to be a good mom, a good dad. And when you're not doing what you think you should be doing, that is easily accompanied by a lot of guilt and fear because you don't want to fuck your children up. You know, you want to be a good parent. But the thing about it is that when you are in that state of stress and you're not paying attention to yourself and giving yourself what you need, which is to have clarity and calmness and ease, then whatever is in your cup is going to pour into the cup of your child.
Mhm.
So to move from survival to thriving, you need to be able to um, focus a little bit more on yourself. You're the source that is providing for that child, but you're not just providing clothes and food and a roof. You're providing a presence and you're providing emotional support. And these things are extremely important. They are actually more important than having a specific type of food or a specific type of home. The children need our support and they need our us being there with them, completely present. And you can't really provide that unless you're able to have it within yourself first. So the number one thing to get out of surviving into thriving is to make some time for you to get in alignment with who you are first.
Perfect. And what are the common limiting beliefs that single parents struggle with, and where do they actually come from? So I know mine, but I want to ask you that.
Sure. I mean, from my work with people, there's been a lot. I can't do it on my own. That's one big thing. Another one is I have to overexert myself in order for me to be a good parent. Or I'm fucking up my children. That's also a very big one. You know, it's like I have to be perfect in order for me to be a good parent. Um, yeah. What's yours?
Um, I think you touched on it. Sometimes I feel certain things that I can give to my kids, but the rest should come from their dad, right? And also just um the limiting belief, like not being emotionally available, especially since I work a lot, you know.
Mhm.
So those are mine. So for a single parent who feels like they don't have enough time for self-care, like myself,
Yeah.
or what's one small and powerful subconscious shift they can make today?
Yeah. Um, the most powerful subconscious shift that you can do is to reframe what it means to take care of yourself while going for long walks or taking long baths and all of that is self-care and it's important, but self-care can be small changes, small actions that you take every day, whether it's taking deep breaths when you're hanging out with your child or being a little bit more playful when you're playing, just putting yourself in that energy that also nourishes your soul, your inner child. Also meditation, which can sometimes be a 5 minute process where
Mhm.
you just quiet your mind. When you're able to do that, even the small changes, they compound. They compound. It's like a drop of water that fills the pond. And every day just dedicating 5 minutes to calm your mind and get into alignment, that will really empower your life in general. It will be like the shock absorbers on a car. You'll be moving through life, like on a road, and meditation will be like the shock absorbers.
Okay, but can hypnotherapy actually help to rewire generational trauma?
So when people think of generational traumas, they think of them as something that is in the distant past, that is just affecting you from the shadows. And the fact of the matter is that generational trauma is showing up every day in your real life interactions, in your relationships.
Mhm.
So there's an experiment that they did in 2013 at, I think it might be Emory University, where they had these rats. They exposed them to a certain scent, and then they would give them a mild shock. After a while, they would have them smell the scent, and the rats would react in the same way. Even though they weren't being shocked, they would react as if they were being shocked. That fear transmitted down 2 generations. So their grandkids, when they smelled that scent, they would feel the same fear that the grandparents felt when they were shocked with that after smelling that smell. So
Mhm.
it shows you that generations, we're not only inheriting our nose and our eyes and all of that from them, we're inheriting also survival mechanisms and emotional ways of being. And children are absorbing everything around them when they're babies. So, of course, it travels, and of course, you can shift it with hypnotherapy, but it's really important to recognize that we're not going into the past to change it, and it's not something in the shadows. It is something that is showing up in your everyday life.
Right. How does the way we were parented shape our subconscious programming as parents?
The way that we were parented has a very powerful effect on the way that we parent, because when we show love, if you just look at the word love, to some people is different from other people. It's like your understanding of what love is. And also it's the same thing with being a good parent. It's the things that your parents told you were enough, and the factors of being a good parent might be different in today's world. I mean, my grandma didn't have to work, she didn't have a career, she didn't have to do any of that, where my mom, she had to work. So it's kind of different. So taking the experience that we've had with our parents from the past and trying to fit that into what we teach our children, a lot of the times does not work, because our roles in society are changing constantly. But they do have a lot of effect on the way that we parent, on the way that we interact with everything, because we absorb everything as we're children. We absorb the environment around us, the way that we think. And one important thing also, that your children are not learning from what you're telling them, they're learning on how you behave, from how you behave. So if you're dedicating some time for self love and self care, they will learn that. But if you tell them love yourself, and when you're not doing the same thing, that's not going to work.
That's so true. That's so, so true. So I want to talk about overcoming fear and stress and self-doubt, because I think that those three things are a serious topic. And a lot of people don't talk about it. I know for me, I grew up with a lot of fear, and so much fear that it affected my adulthood. And it brought me to the point where I realized, like, dude, if you don't release all this fear, like, you'll never be able to accomplish or achieve a lot of the things that you want to accomplish and achieve. you know and also stress in so many different ways. When I was a child, as an adult, and now not just as a parent, but as a single parent, there's just so much stress. And then the self-doubt, the lack of the confidence. I want to touch on those things. So the first one is money stress, right? So money stress is a huge burden for a lot of single parents. How can hypnotherapy help someone shift from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset?
Mm. So money stress comes from the idea that there is not enough. And it's not a universal truth, it's a personal experience, because some people have enough and some people don't. So we deduct that it's just a personal opinion about life. Your beliefs really shape your reality. And we have something in the brain called the reticular activating system. And this reticular activating system, what it does is it confirms what you already believe. It's kind of a filter. So it only allows what you believe to be true to come into your brain or into your mind.
Mhm.
When you believe in lack, that's just because you've experienced lack in the past, and you're just bringing it into your reality. Those beliefs are working with your reticular activating system and multiple other things to confirm that to you. So the way that hypnotherapy can help with that is by finding out why you believe the things that you believe, and then shifting your mindset, shifting your beliefs. And when you do that, everything within you will start working with you to get you to the place that's confirming the new belief that you have.
That was so good. So for many single parents, they struggle with feeling lonely, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
feeling unworthy of love after a breakup, whether it was a marriage or a relationship. How does the subconscious mind hold on to past relationships? And how can someone break free from those emotional baggages?
Yeah. When we are in a relationship, there's a lot of good things that are happening where our body is releasing all those happy hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And there's somebody out there that's reflecting back to us that we are lovable by their care and their love. And when that love and that support is gone, it's very natural for us to feel lonely. And it's almost like a withdrawal because hormones are powerful. And when you've been getting this oxytocin dose for a while, and even sometimes your cortisol dose, if you've been fighting with this person, when they're gone, your body is looking for it. It's like, I'm supposed to be having this today. Where is it? So it's very natural that you feel lonely, that you feel lost in some way. In a couple of years ago, my ex just got up and left, and I was left devastated. I mean, I had been practicing hypnotherapy. I have learned about the mind, worthiness, all these different things, but I was devastated. I would sit in bed, just restless, playing scenarios in my head of what would have happened if I did this. What would have happened if I did this? I wish I didn't do that. And I found that I was putting myself in such a negative state of mind. And I realized that I was doing it to myself. And the minute I realized that, I started being more gentle to myself. So, whatever that person was providing for me, I started providing for myself. If it was support, I was providing support for myself. I would stand in front of the mirror and tell myself, I love you. You are amazing. I support you. If it was fun and entertainment, I was going out and having dates by myself. I was giving myself what I needed, what I was getting from this person. So it's just a period of transformation. And you've just got to give yourself what you were giving from this person. This person was in your life for a reason, and they came to reflect back to you, not what they can give you, but what you can give to yourself. And one thing to keep in mind is that when you feel love, even though the person is the center of your attention, but the feeling of love is happening inside of you. And them leaving didn't take away your love, didn't take away all the good things about you.
Yeah, so I believe every single body comes into your life for a reason and a season as well, right? I wanted to ask you when you were looking in the mirror telling yourself, I love you, how did that feel? Because the first time I did it, it felt weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like you're lying to yourself, and it feels uncomfortable. It feels like, what is wrong with me? I think that sometimes you can't say I love you, but you can say I'm willing to love you, and that's more true. I love you sometimes can sound like a lie, can feel like a lie, but I'm willing to love you is more truthful, and it can start you on that path.
Right. So I want to ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
Can you differentiate between the feeling of loneliness and the feeling of wanting a lifetime partner or a partner?
hmm Um, so here's the thing is that we create what we are. The way that we're emitting, the energy that we're emitting out, we're creating. Loneliness is a good starting place to set the desire of attracting that long-term partner, right?
Mhm.
But once we've used loneliness up in a positive way, not in a negative way, we're able to use it as a bouncing place to move towards what we want. But if we continue to focus on it and feel lonely and feel like we're less than because we are by ourselves and we don't have that person, then we keep attracting that to ourselves. But If you use it in a positive way, you're like, okay,
Mm,
I feel lonely. Something inside of me is telling me that I'm not happy on my own. I want a long time partner. So what I
mm,
will do is I will start being that friend to myself, that partner to myself. Also, I will create the space for that person in my life. Like Bob used to say, make space in the closet,
yeah.
stuff like that. So loneliness and longing for somebody, they can kind of be in the same category, but it's just depending on how you use it up. Are you using it in a negative way or in a positive way?
Right. So I wanted to bring that up because people need to be aware of the difference, right, of being lonely and actually wanting a lifetime partner, because sometimes that loneliness feeling will make you go into a relationship that you had no business going into that relationship,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So I wanted to bring that up and let people be aware that there's a difference. Now,
Yeah.
what are some things that most people don't realize about their subconscious mind, like self-sabotaging their own happiness?
Mm. So the subconscious mind is always working, it's always in operation. When you're asleep, when you're awake, its number one job is to keep you alive. And the way that it does that is by keeping you away from painful experiences
Mhm.
and driving you towards pleasurable experiences. So self sabotage is nothing but you um, being afraid of experiencing something. So if you grow up with the belief that I'm not worthy of love, when
Mhm.
love comes knocking at your door, you just don't open the door, you don't let it in because there's a fear inside of you that this person is going to come in and they're going to find out that you're not worthy and they're going to go and you're going to be left with that feeling again. So it's a very tricky thing because it's a loop where I feel this feeling and I'm scared of experiencing it in the future, so I don't go through the experience. So that's what self sabotage is. It's just not opening the door to what you want when it's knocking at your door.
Mm. Interesting. When we often think of trauma as major life events, what are the silent traumas that single parents might be carrying without even realizing it? And I know we've spoken about my personal experience where all these traumas just all of a sudden they started to appear. And I think, we as single parents, we wear a mask. Like if you ask a single parent, how are you? I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And they're not. They're tired, they're
Mhm.
exhausted, they're stressed, they have all kinds of issues. So what silent traumas do you think single parent carry without realizing it?
Yeah. So my understanding of trauma is that it's not the event that really affects us, is our relationship to the event. And while childhood traumas can still express themselves in everyday lives of everybody, including single parents, one of the most traumatic things is overexerting yourself and never feeling that you're doing well enough. That is a very traumatic thing because it's your relationship to what you're doing. It seems like you're never doing enough, even though you're doing more than what you can do.
Right.
So definitely stress, overwhelming, overexerting yourself are the silent traumas.
So if a single parent could do one practical thing of hypnotherapy technique daily to create a better future, what should that be?
Mm. One thing about hypnotherapy that's extremely powerful is that it takes you out of the outside world and into your inner world. And that allows you to kind of take a seat and view things from a different perspective where you're not so involved in it. And
Mhm.
I feel like just going through the process of putting yourself in a calm state is extremely powerful. And if you want to add to that some exciting imagination, some visualization, that would be extremely powerful as well. Because when you're visualizing, it's not that you're just creating something. But each one of these images that you're holding in your mind is having a physical impact on your body.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were visualizing yourself being powerful throughout the day, your
Mm-hmm.
body's going to respond to it. It's going to give
Mm-hmm.
you that. You're going to find that your energy is better. The way that you're interacting with people is better. The way that you're
Mm-hmm.
connected to your own power is better.
Mm-hmm.
So these two tools, I think, would definitely change a lot. And they're very simple, very easy to do.
So meditation, visualization, and affirmations, right?
Yeah.
So I have episodes on visualization and affirmation. So if you have not checked that out, make sure you check that out after this episode. But that's amazing. That's amazing. Those are all free and they're very easy, and it takes a while to get used to it. But I would just say start. Just start. Eventually you'll grow and learn to sit with yourself for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So I would just say start. Now, how can single parents use hypnotherapy to help their children develop confidence, resilience, and emotional intelligence?
Mm. So, like I said before, your children are not listening to what you're saying, they're watching what you're doing and they're
Mhm,
absorbing that. So, again, it goes back to you taking care of yourself and showing up as that person that you want them to be. The second
mhm,
thing is that children, especially before the age of 7, their imagination is so vivid and they really haven't developed the logical faculty so much. So even just having them close their eyes and imagine what they want to experience, imagine themselves as confident and empowered and loved and friendly, that can be very, very helpful for children because to them, they're playing, but to them, life is playing. There's no difference. They don't make so much difference like adults, where you're taking a lot of responsibility and what I'm doing in visualization is not reality. To them, imagination is as real as real life.
amazing. And that is true because when I started like taking care of myself, like making sure my eyebrows are done, my hair is done, even early on when my children were young and I was doing meditation, my youngest, she started doing the same thing. So it's true that children don't do what you say, they do what you do. But can you explain how self hypnosis actually works?
Yeah, it's very simple. I mean, we're always we're always suggesting things to ourselves. Hypnosis is not about being asleep or in a trance. It's about accepting suggestions, being open to suggestions. So self-hypnosis can be as simple as closing your eyes, getting in a relaxed state, taking a few deep breaths, and giving yourself powerful suggestions, affirmations, like you're saying, giving yourself images that would excite you.
Mhm.
I can do it. I'm powerful. I'm an amazing mother. I'm an amazing father. So self hypnosis is not so complicated. It's really a simple practice, just as simple as closing your eyes, getting into a relaxed state, and giving yourself these suggestions.
Amazing. So I'm going to share an experience with you where in 2023, there were a lot of things going on, some weird things. And I felt like, oh my God, I can't do this. And that was my year of surrendering, right? And one of the things that I did was in the mornings, I would wake up while I was still relaxed. I would visualize my day, right? And instead of saying, oh my God, I have so much things to do, I would say, today I'm going to have a highly productive day. And instead of saying, oh my God, all these things is happening, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I would say, I am enough and I can do hard things. And I'm telling you, it helps so much. And that one affirmation from you actually introduced me to Louise Hay, where she says, all is well, everything is working out for my highest good. I'm telling you, the amount
That's
of
powerful.
times, yeah, the amount of times I'm telling you that has shifted the energy from me. Oh my God, like I can't even explain. But let's say that, how can a single parent use self hypnosis in their daily life to reduce stress or to shift negative thought patterns?
So what you said about using affirmations like that is extremely, extremely powerful because again, the reticular activating system is looking out for what you believe to be important to you. It's filtering out everything that's not. So to kind of explain the reticular activating system in an easy way, if imagine if you just bought a new car. When you bought a new car, everywhere you went, you started seeing cars exactly like your car. Have you ever had that experience before?
Yeah.
So that's a reticular activating system bringing to your attention what you made important to you in that moment. So when you use hypnosis in that way, and you use affirmations in that way, when you go into hypnosis or relaxed state of mind, your conscious mind is not rejecting these ideas as much. When you're
Mm-hmm.
able to say, I am having a productive day today, your reticular activating system is taking that cue and it's saying, we're having a productive day today. So every action that you take, instead of it being stressful, it's actually productive. And as you and I were just at the Mind Valley event, and they explained how stress, the way that you perceive it, it has an impact on you. So if you believe that it's actually bad for your health, it's bad for your health. If you perceive it to be good for your health, it's good for your health. So when you have that mindset, you're kind of prepping your day, you're priming your mind to perceive things in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power of self hypnosis and affirmations, because it's working with your mind's natural ability to bring you what you want.
Right. Now, we all have that inner voice, right? That talks us out of everything and criticize us, right? How can a single parent silence their inner voice and build an unshakable self belief?
Yeah. So the inner voice is again a protection mechanism. It's your mind trying to help you. So when we absorbed our belief systems and our ideas and the way that we believe about ourselves when we grew up as children, we made up a lot of beliefs about ourselves. And we made up this, we knew that our survival depended on the adults around us. So we knew that our survival depended on being accepted by the adults. And in fact, actually, this is hardwired in our brains because throughout our evolution, we knew that we needed to be accepted into the tribe. Otherwise, we'd be on our own. And that wasn't safe back then. So this is still inherited. It's in our genes. It's I don't want to call it generation or generational trauma, but it's generational information that's still guiding us until today. So that critic inside your mind, instead of criticizing the critic inside your mind, just understand where you frame it in a way that it's actually there to help you. But it hasn't been doing its job properly because you've given it a very perfect image of what you're supposed to be in order for you to be lovable and accepted and worthy. And all it's trying to do is motivate you to
Mm-hmm.
get to that image.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really about quieting the critic so much, it's about changing the image that you have of what is acceptable and what is loving. It's about changing your self image. And then that voice inside your head that's criticizing you will start evolving. You'll start changing until one day that critic becomes the cheerleader.
Yes. Let me share my personal and recent experience. And I think I may have shared it with you. So, in 2020 to 2022, I had a rough time with a business that I was doing and I lost everything, right?
Mhm.
And I was trying to figure out what my next move was. Not just my next move, but the next right move. And so for me, I knew I said, okay, if I feel like this as a single parent, I can't imagine what other single parents are feeling.
Mhm.
So I said, I'm going to start a charity foundation for single parents. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, especially when I'm driving. And one day my daughter said to me, Mommy, why don't you start your own podcast? It will go with your charity foundation. I'm telling you, the amount of times my inner voice criticized me and told me, you're an introvert. You don't like public attention. You do not like social media. It's not a wise idea, right? And it was actually listening to a podcast from Ed Milet when he was talking about purpose. And, I was searching for mine. I was praying. I was like, okay, I know it's within me, but I can't pinpoint what it is. Right. And then, I said to myself in the podcast, Ed Milet said, what are you qualified to do? Right? What are you qualified to do? What drives you? What motivates you? And all I could think about was a podcast. So that moment that I quiet that inner voice and it no longer was a distraction or a critic towards me because I'm like, why am I going to allow that critic voice, right? That self-doubt to talk me out of what faith talks me into. And that was how I shifted and was able to, I guess, talk to myself, have those conversations with myself to say, hey, I'm enough. I'm qualified. I'm more than qualified.
Yeah.
So that was my own personal experience when it comes to inner voice.
That's beautiful. I love how your daughter, was able to see that for you,
Yeah.
and how you took action on it and overcame that, or actually retrained that inner critic into becoming your cheerleader.
Yeah. What's a habit you think or a ritual that you personally swear by to keep your mind in a powerful state?
Two things that I do daily. One thing every single day. The second is when I need it. Is the first one is meditation. Like I was saying before, meditation is like being on a road, and the roads um, sometimes will have bumps and pots and all of that. And what meditation does, even 10 minutes of meditation, it doesn't have to take so much of your time. What it does is it acts like a shock absorber. It helps you kind of sit back and notice things and observe things instead of being in it. And that extremely focused state of mind of trying to figure things out. I mean, being a single parent and having all these things on your plate to do, your mind is probably going at such a high speed that a lot of the times you don't take a moment back. So you're just on the go. And that tends to tire your mind out. So meditation, first thing in the morning, kind of it makes you acquainted with that place of calmness and ease and relaxation. And once you practice it over and over again, you do it every day, what happens is that you start to automatically go back into that place when you need to. The second thing is journaling. And journaling doesn't have to be something that is to be read later, but it's just vomiting on a piece of paper. When you're stuck sometimes in a loop of thought, and it just keeps looping and looping and looping, and you're just torturing yourself with it. The best thing to do is to sit down and write it down on a piece of paper. When you do that, you're taking it from back here into physical reality. You can burn it if you want afterwards, you can tear it apart, you can throw it away, you can keep it, whatever. But it's just grounding that energy from your mind into the piece of paper. So these two tools or two habits are the most powerful tools, and they've helped me for many years now.
I'm glad you said that because I never really understood journaling and I felt like I want to journal, but I feel like I'm afraid to like journal what I truly feel and then somebody comes and read it. But you said you can actually throw it out. So I'm gonna do that. Like I don't want anybody to see what I was thinking. Like, oh my God.
Knowing that I will burn it, I have the audacity to write what I truly want to write in the same exact words. There's no shame.
Yeah, so I actually started journaling and I have you said it's not necessary to go back and reflect or read, but it's funny because I picked up that journal and it so happened, I so happened to read an entry, and I'm like, my God, were you actually feeling and thinking that?
Yeah.
It's weird for me, but I'm glad you said you can actually throw it away because I thought journaling was a thing where you actually go back and reflect. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that though.
Also, it's good that you said that about like you went back and you saw the difference between how you were thinking before and how you're thinking now. Because a lot of the times I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't changed. I haven't changed. I haven't improved. And then when I see old pictures, you know how Instagram or Facebook will show you like, oh, on this day, I'm like, oh my God, the difference. I have grown. You've
Yeah,
changed it.
that's true. You see, like you're more confident and more matured, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, so if a single parent was listening to this right now, what's one piece of advice from this conversation today would you want them to apply starting today? What would that be?
Mm. Number one thing, the priority, in my opinion, is cultivating self-love. And not that fluffy, surface level kind of self-love, but that deep, unconditional, all-encompassing self-love, you know, that accepts you and loves you or is willing to love you with your imperfections, with your failures, allowing space for that. So that would be the number one thing for sure.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. What's the biggest myth about hypnotherapy that you wish people could understand?
It's just it's what we talked about, that people believe that somebody's going to control their minds and take control and all of that, and you see it in movies like Get Out and all of that, but it really is just a natural state of mind. Nobody can make you do what you don't want to do. Anything that you see in stage hypnosis is people that have agreed to do this, even if not before, but they're agreeing to participate in that way. That is the only misconception. You can use hypnosis yourself. There's a lot of things on YouTube. Find a hypnotherapist if you want, but try it and see how it feels.
So I know you said you wanted to do a hypnotherapy session, a live hypnotherapy
Are we
session.
going to do a live hypnotherapy session?
Yes,
We are?
yes. Let's do it
Okay.
to show people what hypnotherapy truly is.
Okay, let's do it. So, the most important idea I think that people need to get when it comes to hypnotherapy and their minds is that the images that you hold in your mind are having a physical reaction in your body. And once you see that, once you prove it to yourself, you will start believing more in your ability and in your mind's ability to change your life. So,
Mhm,
what we're going to do is we're going to do a very simple thing. So, I just need you to simply look. I'm going to show you first before. So, just look at my eyes. And if you're watching this, you can follow with us. So, I'm just going to show you that we're going to look up as high as possible. And you see this fluttering in my eyes? This fluttering is a good indicator that we're going into that REM, that rapid eye movement state, which happens in hypnosis and sleep. Perfect.
mhm.
So just sit back and relax and just look up as high as you possibly can, as if you're trying to look into your own eyebrows. Perfect. Just keep your eyeballs up, take a deep breath in and breathe out. Perfect. One more time, taking another deep breath in, filling your lungs with air and breathe out, keeping those eyeballs up, taking one final deep breath and all the way out. And just close your eyelids down, all the way down. And as your eyelids shut down, the muscles and the nerves in and around your eyes are becoming heavy, droopy, and drowsy. And you're starting to feel right now as if your eyes have been sealed shut, glued shut, and locked together. And now simply forget all about your eyes and allow a drifting and floating sensation to develop in your body. Just picture in your own mind, Priscilla, 10 steps descending. And I want you to drop your chin just a fraction so you can get that same looking down sensation that you would get when you're looking down a balcony or a flight of stairs. You're looking down 10 steps, you have that same looking down sensation. You're moving to step number 10 now as each muscle, every nerve just turns loose, lets loose, and you go deeper. You're taking steps 9 and 8, and you can see your feet. Feel your feet and even hear them making contact with each step as you move down and drift down and travel down to an even deeper level now. You're taking steps 7 and 6 now, going deeper and deeper and even deeper into an awareness of yourself. You're at step number 5, moving down. You're halfway there now as each muscle, every nerve in your body just lets loose and you go deeper. You're taking step 4, 3, 2, and 1, just going deeper, drifting deeper, sinking deeper. And hypnosis, like we discussed, is not about being asleep, it's just about how suggestible you are. And I want to show you how suggestible you are. I want you to open up your right hand and just imagine that you have half of a lemon. Feel that waxy texture of the lemon. You know how it feels like. And now just squeeze it a little bit in your hand. You can even feel it dripping some of that juice. And just bring it closer to your nose and smell that lemony smell. Your brilliant mind still remembers exactly how a lemon smells like. And now I want you to shove that lemon in your mouth and just chew on it and feel that juice on your teeth, on your tongue, dripping through the back of your throat. And just notice that feeling in your mouth. Your body is producing enzymes and it's producing more saliva to digest that lemon. But that lemon is imaginary. It is not a real lemon. And you know that, but your unconscious mind and your body are still responding to that image, even though you know it's not real. And that's how suggestible you are. So from now on, every time you suggest to yourself and you give yourself a positive affirmation, it is sinking so deeply into your subconscious mind and your body is responding. So whenever you find yourself ready, you can come back into your full awareness. Welcome back.
Wow.
How was the lemon feeling in your mouth?
It felt tangy.
Okay.
Yeah. And I,
So
I I actually could really smell
yeah,
the
yeah.
lemon. Yeah. Wow. Everybody sees what hypnotherapy is. And I mean, if you're having different issues like different traumas or whatever it is, it's done differently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So where can our listeners learn more about your work, and where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Yahiya Shal. They can find me on my website at allowingtheperfectlife.com, or they can find me on my YouTube channel at Lightbulb Moments with Yahya.
Perfect. Now, I have two questions. If they're fun questions, I ask everyone.
Tell me.
So, if I was a genie and I'm giving you one wish of wherever you would want to be in the world right now, where would that place be?
Hmm. I would probably be on a beach in Hawaii.
Always a beach, right?
Always a
Always
beach.
a beach, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And the next question is, it's a personal question.
Yeah.
It's a personal question to me. So I asked you a million questions. I'm allowing you to ask me one question.
Mm, okay. What is one message that in 50 years or in 70 years, once you're gone, you would want the world to remember you by?
Hmm. Ask me again.
What is one message that when you're gone, you want the world to remember you by?
Um, I would want the world to know that, God sent each one of us here for a reason. And I believe, we all have infinite purpose. And I know one of mine is to empower single parents. I want to, as I'm learning to evolve as a single parent, I want to share that with the world. So the one thing I would want people to remember about me is that I want single parents to evolve, because you are enough. You are amazing. You are a powerhouse. You are super, whether it's super mom or super dad, you are great. And you are loved and lovable. That's what I would want the world to know.
Yes. And for them to say it to themselves every day, praising themselves
Yeah.
with these words. And that was wonderful. I love that.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
so I just wanted to say thank you so much for volunteering to be a guest on the show. Not because you were my friend, but just being vulnerable, talking about, you being raised by a single mom. And I can't wait to meet her one day
Yeah.
and your sisters. And also talking about what you do, hypnotherapy, because it's so powerful. It is so powerful. And I would urge people to try it, And I thank you so much for sharing everything with us and being on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.